first.
Well, this is why the establishment, the insiders, the D.C. Wall Street cabal are so upset. The rise of Trump is a repudiation of 40 years of bipartisan treason. It is a complete repudiation of the fiscal policies that have left this country broke, the immigration policies that have taken away our security, the foreign interventionist policies that have made us spend blood and treasure for nothing, the trade policies that put us at a giant disadvantage to China, to Japan, to Mexico. Trump is naming names, and he understands the Clintons and the Bushes, the Republicans and the Democrats are in it together. And he scares the daylights out of the establishment because normally, as sadly was the case with Reagan, when an outsider is elected president, they're immediately co-opted. What happens is the establishment comes around and say, oh, Mr. President, you don't know how things work. We know how things work here in Washington. Let us help you. When they help you, they try to undo all of your policies. Trump cannot be bought. He cannot be bullied. He cannot be influenced. He cannot be squeezed. He cannot be blackmailed. And that is why the political establishment is literally wetting their britches over the radical reform that Trump would bring. He's going to re-examine 9/11. He's going to re-examine the origins of the phony Iraq war. He's going to re-examine our Federal Reserve. He's going to demand an audit. Who knows bankers better than Donald Trump?
Because he understands this political elite's going to come after him regardless, even if he was a sociopath, which I don't think he is. I think he's a guy that really cares about America. He knows they're going to keep coming after him once he gets in. He's got the will to politically kill them once he's president.
He's a man of enormous personal courage. I think that his life is in danger. He is such a threat to the status quo, to the ruling elite, to the established order. There's no way to stop Trump-NATO. Now, I can tell you, in every one of these primary states, the infrastructure controlled by his opponents was greater. Yet he's running up giant numbers. Democrats, independents, African-Americans, people who've stopped voting, people who never voted are coming to the aid of their country. He's running up numbers like I've never seen. So he is so much better than his campaign in the sense that this is a spontaneous grassroots uprising. Donald Trump shows up and thousands show up to greet him.
And here's the big question everybody asks. Once he gets in, I know he's a smart guy, and I can tell he likes prosperity. He's not one of these kleptocrats that wants to make people poor to control them. That's what this austerity, globalism's all about. He clearly is against that's why they hate him. They're so scared of him. He's a nationalist. But if he doesn't deliver on a lot of this, obviously he knows people are going to be so hurt that he will get politically destroyed.
But he's not running because he needs to be president. He's not running because he wants to burnish his ego or his reputation. He's climbed every mountain you can climb.
No, I understand that. But, I mean, you know him so well, talk to him every day, known him for 40 years. I mean, tell us who Donald Trump really is at his essence and what you think he'll do once he's president.
He's a fighter. He is a man of enormous courage. He's a patriot. He's a nationalist. He's a firm believer in American sovereignty. And why is he running? I can sum this up. He's tired of seeing the country go down the drain. And when he says to us, our leaders are stupid, their decisions are stupid, their decisions make no sense. You want to give $150 billion to Iran in frozen assets? That's a stupid decision. Nobody could make a decision like that who cares about the future of their country. So Trump is giving up, Alex, an incredible lifestyle. He's got a great family.
He's making himself a major target.
There's no question. And he's working very hard. I dare say it's been a long time since he's seen a golf course. This guy loves to play golf as a form of relaxation, as a form of focus. But he's working harder than those who know him ever believed he would work because he sees the future of America in the balance, and he understands this is it. This is the moment. We either save our country, take it back, and restore its greatness, or we step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Roger Stone is our guest. We're going to skip this network break because this is so important. Looking at this, I've studied history. I've been involved in politics for 25 years, first working for Buchanan when I was in high school. I'm not a political insider, though. I'm just a person from the grassroots that got involved with Access TV, then radio, then syndicated radio, because I really did want to be a slave, and I could see multinationals coming into killing the Bill of Rights, killing the Constitution, and turning myself and my family into slaves. I mean, it really comes down to that I'm territorial. I'm not going to have a bunch of special interests come in and root me out and dominate me. And that's what Trump said is, he's standing up. He's sick of these politicians ruining the country. And I read that article in Politico where, how Trump did it. And it's basically what you told me privately about he really hated seeing them kill the country. He met years ago thinking about doing this. He almost didn't do it. But now that he's in it, he said this. He realizes he'll be pretty much, his name's going to be hurt. He'll pretty much have to retire if he doesn't win this. And to see him not bought, not controlled, it's like the return of a man. Because not since Reagan have we had somebody that, wasn't totally controlled by this political class. They hate Trump because he's not paying money for all the ads. He's not hiring all the consultants. This guy, as Chris Christie just said an hour ago endorsing him, has rewritten the political playbook. It's seismic. I mean, I get goosebumps because, and I rarely do, because this is so epic. I don't think viewers and listeners understand. There's no doubt now, whether Trump was for real or not, and I know he's for real in my gut, and I can see it politically. He's breaking all the taboos. He is wrecking the insiders. He is changing the system forever. And it's just a manifestation, as you said, of the larger political uprising of populism. And Fox News is the worst now. And I know you go on Megyn Kelly, and there's some nice folks over there, but Fox News has this talking point of, oh, I know, it's just poor white people and racist whites. I mean, it's like MSNBC now, and they're just putting it out that, Trump's really a Democrat and, oh, it's racist and all this because it's whites that feel like they're getting poor when his campaign isn't about race. It is so sick. Do you think that tactic will fail?
Well, frankly, there are far more egregious offenders than Fox. I've got to say a word in defense of Fox because Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity.
Oh, Sean Hannity's good on it.
These guys have given Trump his fair shake, and that his point of view is at least reflected.
Even though there's orders coming down probably from Murdoch to...
Well, compare that to CNN, which is the Clinton News Network.
All I'm saying is, shouldn't Fox be more supportive of a populist conservative?
I think they are supportive of him.
Okay, good.
I do think he gets access, and he gets his chance to lay out his case to the American people. So I am not a critic of Fox, but I'll say this. I am a critic of CNN. Now, it's very interesting. Alex, I went back and had to look. Since August of last year, I've either been on Fox Business or the Fox News channel to talk on behalf of Trump, to defend Trump, to stand up for Trump 49 times. I have been on CNN exactly 3 times since August.
So I get your point.
Yesterday they announced that I am banned. Banned from what? Banned from something I was never admitted to? This gets even more comical. MSNBC, under pressure from Media Matters from America, this group of twisted freaks who are Clinton apologists, who the Clintons can do no wrong. First, they demand I be banned at CNN, where I was never admitted. Now MSNBC, where I have not appeared once this year and appeared once last year. They've banned me. How do you ban someone who's never been admitted to begin with?
So why are they announcing it? Just to set the precedent for banning people?
Well, because they know I have the goods on the Bushes and the Clintons. Because they know, as someone who was an insider for 40 years, someone who was in the service of 3 American presidents, who worked on 9 Republican presidential campaigns, as someone who worked in the U.S. Senate as an assistant to Senator Bob Dole, a patriot, as someone who worked in the U.S. House as an assistant to Congressman Bob Steele, who was a member of the House Budget Committee, they know that I've seen the inside workings of the establishment. They know I have the goods on Hillary Clinton. They know that I'm well aware of the fact that her husband is a sexual predator who has attacked multiple women, but more importantly, that Hillary has been an accessory after the fact in every one of those sex crimes. They know that I'm well aware of Bill's abandoned mixed-race son, Danny Williams, who they threw away like a piece of trash and who they doctored up a phony DNA test. They know that I have the keys to defeating the Clintons, and therefore Stone must be discredited. We must discredit him because he knows too much.
Well, I now see your point. You're right about Fox. I would just expect them, I mean, obviously they're not as bad as CNN or MSNBC. I would just expect them with a patriot like this, a clear winner, not to do the little jabs and stuff. So that's why I'm upset with Fox.
But at least they're a real news network. When they say fair and balanced, they are fair and balanced. And many...
So I get it. That's why they have some folks attacking Trump.
Many of the talking heads there, who I know privately, personally, very pro-Trump and not afraid to say so. And they let Trump and the Trump campaign get its fair share of
let's talk numbers then. Super Tuesday. What do you expect to happen? What's a big win versus something that isn't as good a win? What do you really think is about to happen?
I still think Trump is on track to win big because this is a natural phenomena. It's not about paid television commercials. It's not about phone banks. It's not about the party organization and who's endorsed by who. This is a citizen uprising, and all the polls have been wrong. Donald Trump has always outperformed the polls. He actually runs ahead of where the polls say they're going to run. So here's the bad news for the Republican establishment. They have always assumed that as this field winnowed down, as the Chris Christies got out of the race, as Jeb Bush got out of the race, as the race boiled down to 2 candidates or 3 candidates, that all the establishment voters would galvanize behind the establishment candidate and Trump could be defeated. Here's what they didn't count on. Trump is bringing in thousands of new people, young people, disaffected people.
It's populism. That's what they're
Right.
scared of.
It's Andrew Jackson-style populism. And ironically, the establishment never liked Jackson. You know why? He was so crude. He was so blunt. He was so plain-spoken. He was so uncultured. He was he was a truth teller of his time. And he denounced the big banks. He denounced federal control by the big banks. Does this sound familiar? Donald Trump may be the greatest American hero since Andrew Jackson.
I was about to say, if he gets elected and actually delivers on 20% of what he says he'll do, because obviously he can't do everything. He's not a dictator. He'll be as big as George Washington. And I think Trump realizes that, but you know him well, that if he can be the guy that's the turnaround expert for America and the brand Americana, that he'll be who John Wayne wishes he was.
And I only think, in all honesty, that it'll take 1 term. He only wants 1 term because he's going to bring such broad change to the country. Let's take the wall. Donald Trump knows, from an engineering point of view, from a construction point of view, that the wall can be built. The Mexicans say they're not going to pay for it. Donald Trump's well aware of the fact that the Mexican government is laundering millions of dollars in drug money. They are
Billions.
the central bank, billions. They are the central bankers for the cartels. So we'll be indicting Mexican national figures. We'll have a war because we're going to make them obey the law, and Donald Trump will make the Mexicans stop importing billions of dollars into our country in drugs that are destroying our inner cities, that are killing our young people.
Well, there's a lot of other pressure also that can be done because there's so many subsidies, billions a year sitting down there, just to, quote, fight the drug war. So, I mean, there's so much leverage. Mexico is basically totally dependent on the U.S. And so for people to say it's crazy he's going to make them pay for a wall, I mean, Trump, I believe, will actually try to get that done. But what I like is him coming out and saying, audit the Fed. You were on a few days before he came out with those tweets. And was that just spontaneous that he did that, or had you been talking to him?
Who understands bankers better than Donald Trump? Donald Trump understands the banker mentality. He's taken more bankers to the cleaner than any businessman in the country. He understands how they operate, and he wants to know what's happening at the Fed. He wants to understand the Fed's role in our economy. Look, I worked in the Senate. I worked in the House. I worked on the budgeting process. There's billions of dollars of fraud and waste in our federal budget. But the reason that everybody in the political class always talks about cutting it but never really cuts it is because every one of those dollars has been put there by somebody powerful, some senator, some congressman, some special.
And that's why they're scared to death, because he might actually cut that off.
He is going to take an axe to federal spending. Look at the way he runs his own companies. He runs a very tight ship. He wastes not a dollar.
And folks shouldn't be scared, because then all that money will just stay with taxpayers and go where you want it. Going to innovation, going to choices you've made, going to competition, it'll explode.
Not a dollar that we're talking about is helping the American people in any way. It's only helping special interests. So now, finally, we would have a president with the guts and the fortitude and the knowledge and the green eye shade to really cut federal spending, which, as you know, between that and Trump's incredibly dynamic tax reform plan, you would have a booming economy.
Well, look, they're genuinely afraid of him because he's a nationalist, because he's a family guy, he's anti-political correctness, he's sick of being bullied, he's sick of America being bullied, but he doesn't want to start just mindless, pointless wars for profit. He's just good on every point. I mean, it's really amazing to have somebody this good, and that's why they're so scared. When we come back, Mr. Stone, I want to go through strategies, what my listeners all over the country and people all over the world, quite frankly, can do to help get Donald Trump elected, and also the new attacks you're expecting, all this garbage about his tax returns. I think that's a really good point for him to make, that not just say, maybe I'm being persecuted by the IRS. If he gets audited all the time, it's obvious he's being persecuted.
Yes.
And so is Carson. People are so sick of the IRS. And so if they think they're going to bring out his taxes and demonize him over something, I think that's going to backfire. It seems like their instincts are really turning against him. And then the fall of the House of Bush. Have we now seen it? And was it Donald Trump bringing up the 28 pages that did it? Because obviously it is, folks. And again, that's another reason to just say, I'm all in for Donald J. Trump. Stay with us. All right, Mr. Stone's going to be with us all the way to the end of the next hour. And next hour, I'm going to open the phones up for first-time callers that have a specific question for Mr. Stone, huge Trump insider, former head of his campaign. And also, if you disagree with Trump, you're welcome to call in as well. So I'm going to go ahead and give the number out now. It'll be about 30 minutes till we go to your calls. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Now, I've been kind of ranting and asking my questions. He's got a bunch of points he wants to get into. The real plan to steal the election from Trump, but sunshine can stop it. Then the fall of the House of Bush. That's kind of old news now, but I want to do a post-mortem on it because it shows where the whole power structure is going if they don't get smart and stop cannibalizing the golden goose. That's all coming up. His 2 books are available at InfoWarsStore.com, The Clintons' War on Women, and Jeb and the Bush Crime Family. And this is the guy, to a great extent, advising Donald Trump. And so that obviously is another reason the power structure is so scared. And you noticed whenever Stone was in here 4 or 5 months ago, he said, watch, Trump is going to go after the Bush crime family. He's going to go after Clinton for the raping and her covering it up. And he did it all. So we literally are talking to the Trump insider here right now. It's so exciting. The establishment media is tearing their hair out about this. He's going to be speaking tomorrow night. I will have a camera crew there covering it. I don't want to say I'm going to show up and you know, get in the way, but I might pop in towards the end. At Brave New Books in downtown Austin, down by UT, at Guadalupe. I want to try to get him to speak at UT. I spoke there and they filled the whole hall, 2,000 people. But believe me, you'll want to get there early because about 100 people can get into the downstairs area, about 100 upstairs. So you'll get to meet him regardless, and they'll have lines around the building, believe me. But that is 7 o'clock tomorrow on Saturday, Brave New Books. And we're going to shoot his speech and then air excerpts of it because everything he says is so good on the Sunday show that I'll be hosting 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. But I'm definitely going to send a crew down there and do a Facebook mentions during his speech. That'll get millions of views. And I'm going to do a Periscope down there. The issue is his Facebook mentions is supposed to be personal. That's why I may be in the parking lot and start the video and then send it in and not go in. I mean, I want to be there, but again, it turns into a circus. So that's tomorrow night, Brave New Books, downtown Austin, Texas. Be sure and be there. And then we'll talk to folks, obviously, live on Facebook mentions and more who want to make their comments as well. We're going to go for a few hours tomorrow night because this is a really important event. I'm told that a lot of newspapers and TV are going to be there covering it as well. So that's fantastic. Will Stone himself defeat the globalists? No, but all of us together backing him and Donald Trump and others, we will. It's the power of the populace. Speaking of the power of the populace, this organization, back when the IRS was auditing me and I was getting harassed and death threats and sued, and they said, look, this is about 8 years ago, I was told by the establishment, shut up, leave us alone, and we got syndication deals for you and stuff, just be a mainline Republican. And I said, you know what, I'm going to actually try to make money now, and I'm going to try to get big now. I'm going to really try to expand now and hire reporters because you tried to shut me up. I was going to stay small before. You tried to push me around. Watch what happens. And now we don't reach 4 or 5 million people a week. We reach 28 million people. And we now have scores of reporters and crew. We had one of the biggest stories this week, according to Google, #1. So that's the effect of what you can do as well. And your purchases of the books, the videos, the water filters, the high-quality nutraceuticals, all of it, and InfoWarsStore.com and InfoWarsLife.com is helping build this. And we're doing an unprecedented sale that we've never done before, the biggest sale ever. It's a leap year sale. Never done this before. Biggest sale ever. 30% off everything until Monday at midnight. Everything. 30% off and free shipping, and that's on top of the discounts that are already there. We're losing money on many items. I just said things are so hot in the country right now. Things are so crazy. I said, let's have a giant sale. And they said, you know, it's funny you say that. We're planning a leap year sale next Monday, 24 hours only. I said, no, let's do it through the weekend and then through Monday and then not extend it. So I'm not extending it. I'm not extending it. This is the biggest sale ever in the history of InfoWars. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. You can also sign up for auto shipping at 10% off on top of that. It is just crazy. And thank you all for your support. It's amazing. But also support Donald Trump with phone calls to media and by voting and by donating. You know, buy one of those Make America Great Again hats that I've got one that really makes the socialists mad downtown. It's beautiful. It's wonderful to exercise your free speech because this guy just got banned off CNN even though he was already banned. They wanted to announce it like they control the narrative. Now, I'm ranting, Mr. Stone. You've got the floor right through for the next 12 minutes till we go to break.
Here's my big concern, Alex. Unlike with Ronald Reagan, at a certain point, the political establishment realized that the Reagan avalanche could not be stopped. And therefore, they tried to force former President Gerald Ford on him for vice president. And then they ultimately did force George H.W. Bush on him. That was the price of peace. That was the price of a united Republican Party. Also, they began to see that Reagan could defeat Carter. And, of course, they wanted to get their nose back into the trough. And they figured, don't worry about Reagan. Once he's president, we can surround him with our people. We can co-opt him.
And that was back when there were still kind of two parties.
Yes, indeed. Now, I have no illusions here. The Bushes have not given up. Terrific story in the New York Daily News about how the Bush family will now swing their weight first behind Marco Rubio. They put the little skirmish with Rubio, who is their protege, behind them. And now they are all out to stop Trump. Make no mistake about this. Barbara Bush will be out campaigning for Hillary Clinton this fall if Donald Trump is the nominee. So the financial wherewithal and the Bush...
Well, they call each other family.
They're very close because they've stolen together, because they've profiteered together.
They've had fake charities together.
Yes, 4 of them, all of which are complete and total financial scams. So don't write Jeb off. Jeb's now looking at 4 years from now. And they got George P. He's the land commissioner here in Texas. He's waiting in the wings. These people are criminals. They wrap themselves in patriotism, yet they've never made an honest dime in their lives, and they have profiteered mightily from the system. Don't think that Jeb is just licking his wounds and riding off into the sunset.
So, folks, you need to understand, you're about to get the inside baseball on how they plan to sabotage Trump at the convention or past that at the election. So give us the battle plan, General.
Yes, here's what's going to happen. First of all, the rules for the convention have to be adopted before the convention. Most egregious is Rule 40B. This was originally passed by the Romney people to jam one of my heroes, Ron Paul. Ron Paul legitimately won delegates, but they didn't want those delegates even to be registered in the convention, and they wouldn't let this congressman, a Republican congressman, they would never allow his name to even be put in nomination. So they will take Rule 40B, which just before the convention must be either readopted or amended or dropped, but they will use 40B to allow someone who has not won a single delegate, who has not won a single caucus or a single primary, to allow someone's name to be put on the floor, a white knight for the establishment. It would have been Jeb, but Jeb is now so discredited in this cycle. He is so bombed out with voters that they know that's not credible. That's why Mitt Romney is all dressed up and ready to go. That's why Mitt Romney was viciously attacking Donald Trump on Twitter last night all through the debate. Mitt Romney is he's their horse. He's the horse they have on the sidelines waiting to bring him in.
Now, to explain how that happens, the Democrats have their superdelegate. The Republicans have something similar. If Trump doesn't get the certain number when they go the first round there at the convention, when the people pledge their delegates?
Yes.
So are they planning to try to force Romney completely in or make him VP?
Here's the steps that they would take. Number one, they will take away the fact that delegates are bound on the first ballot.
Oh.
Let's take New York, for example. The delegation to the convention from New York State will be handpicked by the Republican state chairman, Ed Cox.
And by the way, just to back you up, it was in the news last night that 200 top Republicans met in secret, a bunch of them, basically the delegates, or the super delegates of another name, in New York with Rubio's people on how to steal it.
Exactly right.
So what you're saying is fact. Please continue.
Right. So they will try to unbind those delegates, meaning that even if even if state law in various states requires a delegate to vote on the basis of the result of the state primary, they will seek to unbind them. Alternatively, they stall Trump short of victory on the first ballot, because then on the second ballot, all of the binding is gone. So even though I expect Donald Trump to triumph in the New York primary, where his campaign is being run by one of the great organizers and rabble-rousers of all time, my friend Carl Palladino, and where they will thrash the establishment upstate, downstate, on Long Island, in the New York suburbs. The will of the voters can be undone by these convention rules. Now, what I have done is start to reach out to some of my old associates, some of them going back to the Goldwater campaign, some of them going back to the Reagan campaign, to pull together some of the best convention operatives in America today. We have set up a fund to pay for their travel, to pay for their hotel rooms, to bring them to Cleveland to avoid the steal. You can go to stopthesteal.com right now if you want to make a contribution.
So I should say this from the beginning. We're launching a major move to stop them stealing the will of the voters. This is how elections are really won, folks.
And what we need is the pros. We need the people who know these rules and they know the ropes. Here's what I do know. The Bush people have manipulated the convention rules since the 80s, and they know the inside game, and they're prepared to play the inside game. As you point out, there's 150 superdelegates. The superdelegates are Republican National Committee members and state chairs. Very few Donald Trump votes within that group. So if you do the math, Trump doesn't have to win 50% of the delegates up for grabs in the primaries and caucuses. He's got to win 54%. Otherwise, he's short of the magic number, and that's what they seek to do.
So we need a landslide, folks, to override this.
Absolutely. And in all honesty, at this point, Ben Carson, who I do think is a patriot, Ted Cruz, who I don't think is a patriot, Ted Cruz, whose wife Heidi was Condoleezza Rice's deputy when they started the Iraq War. Then she went over to the U.S. Trade Representative's office.
He is a Herbert Walker Bush minion protege.
No question. This is where he came from. Trump actually understated the case last night. Ted Cruz recruited John Roberts.
Are you saying, because I believe you, and I don't want to admit this to myself because I wanted to believe in him, Cruz is like a Bush operative sleeper cell because the Bush name is over. He literally is a sleeper cell unless he's turned against him. But he was put in power by them as, I guess, a Tea Party takeover artist. Do you think he's turning against him, or is he a full operative, a double agent?
Well, at a minimum, I think he's a Trojan horse. This guy became a conservative exactly 4 years ago. Prior to that, he was the top issue advisor to Governor George W. Bush. He recruited John Roberts to the administration. Now let's look at his wife, Heidi. I'm sure she's a nice lady.
Goldman Sachs.
She was the deputy assistant national security advisor when they gave us the phony Iraq War. Then she moved over to the U.S. Trade Representative's office, where she was the deputy U.S. Trade Representative working on China policy. That China policy Donald Trump talks so much about. By the way, if you go to her wiki bio, those things have been airbrushed out of existence. Then she goes to Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs made a $1 million sweetheart special interest loan to fund Ted Cruz's ascent to the Senate. Now, in the beginning, I liked Ted Cruz. I liked what he had to say. He sounded to me like a patriot. Folks, he's a Quisling. He's a Trojan horse. He's one of them. And he, too, plays a role in this effort to block Donald Trump. His role now is very clear. Siphon conservative votes from Trump. Siphon liberty votes from Trump.
Yeah, I mean, if conservatives don't see the full power of Sauron, the full power of the New World Order is against Trump. This is not a ruse. It's real. He's causing irrevocable damage to him. If people don't get behind Trump, Hillary will destroy a Cruz or a Rubio. Rubio is obviously a ringer. You know, they're waiting to make him president down the road. If you don't get behind Trump, you're totally insane.
And, Alex, I know this is an absolute fact. At this very moment, Ted Cruz is trying to broker a deal with Marco Rubio in which he will continue to damage Trump in return for a Supreme Court seat. That's what he wants. So he's not only an oily lawyer, a slick operator. I like to call him Tricky Ted. This string of sophomoric dirty tricks is beyond anything that I've seen, and I believe in hardboard politics. I get it. But,
yeah, they call you super dirty trickster, but I looked at the stuff you did. None of that was dirty.
Well, first of all, it was all legal, and politics ain't beanbag. But that's not the same thing as sending threatening letters to voters to make them vote, or spreading a false rumor on CNN that Ben Carson, a patriot, is getting out of the race, and then contacting Carson voters to tell them the latest. Oh, did you hear? Ben's getting out of the race. Switch your vote to Ted Cruz. Now, doctoring pictures of Barack Obama and Marco Rubio shaking hands. Last time I saw that was in 1950 when Joe McCarthy doctored pictures of the liberal senator from Maryland, Millard Tydings, shaking hands with the president of the U.S. Communist Party, Earl Broward. which blew tidings out of the Senate. That's a dirty trick.
So we need a tsunami, but if we don't get the total tsunami because of stuff going on in the States, it looks like that's where it's going now. And how do we stop them there on the floor? By putting Patriot operatives in to basically be there from the beginning, saying we're watching for it. We know it's coming, so that if they even try it, it blows up in their face, because this isn't past years when folks were asleep. If they try to steal this from the people, I think there'll be civil unrest.
Well, that's why I've had to reach out to a number of veteran conservative operatives, people who know the rules as well as the Bushes. We're not without assets. We're not without solid delegations.
We should bring everybody. Pat Buchanan, I know, supporting Trump. We ought to bring him down to the floor.
Absolutely.
We need to bring all these titans in.
That's exactly why we have set up StopTheSteal.com.
We need to get Matt Drudge, obviously, who likes Trump and loves Trump. You know, he'll be involved watching for the steal.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, just like anything else, you shed light on the cockroaches and the cockroaches will scramble. We're going to have to shed light on what they have in mind. Terrific piece in the Daily Beast the other day. They blurted it out. Yes, they're playing for the brokered convention. Who emerges? Is it Mitt Romney? Is it Marco Rubio? Is it John Kasich? I think they've given up on Jeb.
But after this spectacle of Trump and he's the winner, if they don't give it to him, the public's finally going to get it. And, I mean, this is incredible.
But on the one hand, you could say the party nomination would be worth nothing if they steal it from Trump. On the other hand, the insiders don't care about that.
Exactly, because they got Hillary already. This is epic. This is epic. By the way, folks, we're teleprompter free here, TV/radio. So we got it wrong, and I'm sorry I got it wrong. It's stopthesteal.org is the website. If you want to try to recruit people like Pat Buchanan, you name it, to be on the floor, talking to the media, invading, and making sure they don't steal the election from the people. And they've done this before. So it's key. Again, that's stopthesteal.org, and everybody should get involved. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. And your calls are coming up in the next hour. A lot of key questions for the consummate Trump insider, Roger Stone. I'm your host, Alex Jones.